stage 3 know already who they are. They have come in with full consciousness. Now, your world banker families, and I'm really hesitant about this being on tape, your global banking families, and I'm not going to mention any names specifically, the souls that inhabit those physical bodies are Moldekians who know who they are. Who know who they are. Bless you. Now, I'm going to share with you in this the concept of the walk-in, what Morene has told me about it. There are both negative, well, there's positive, and there's negative. I'm going to focus on the negs first. There are many people in our world today, world leaders, who are not who they appear to be. We take for granted that they're just human beings. Some of us don't trust our gut instinct about certain people. Now, I think most of the men are shut down, but we don't experience it quite like women do. But ladies, if you have a gut instinct about something or about somebody, please begin to honor it. Because without your help, we're not going to make it. It's your turn to step up and make the guy stay home and do the housework, and you take more of a leadership role. It's your time, and you're just going to have to stand up and do it. Okay? Men have ruled the world for thousands of years. We've screwed it up. We need your help. We need your input. Okay? We don't have the answers. And I don't like saying that because it's an embarrassment to me, but it's a reality. And you have to deal with that truth first. The negatives, what they do, and they can do this during an abduction, during a near-death experience, all kinds of other things. Here's how they do it during an abduction. A man will be taken on board a ship during an abduction. His body will be put into a coma. They will slowly bring the body to death. At the moment it achieves death, the soul exits. Do you follow? When the soul exits, using technology, they will replace this soul with another, and they will bring the body back. They can do this in 4 seconds using technology. He gets up, there's another soul in there. It looks like Batman, but it isn't Batman anymore. Okay? It's somebody else who has a completely different agenda. Now, if you're an ET, a negative ET, in order to manipulate third density, you have to be in third density. And this is how they're doing it. This is how they're doing it, along with, their craft and all the other things. But some choose to be in human form. The Orions, this is Orion technology. The regressives, okay, need technology to create what we can do spiritually. That's the fundamental difference. They have to build technology to do what we can do with our minds. The positives, on the other hand, there is an agreement apparently with the soul that he will be here for such and such a period of time, and then when he decides to cross over, another soul will take in to use the vehicle to continue to propagate the lifetime and to do good works. Now, the positives are using this extensively right now on the Earth. And there are thousands and thousands of what you would call walk-ins here. Because they cannot intervene directly, what they have to do is they have to come in physical form and participate in the process. They are now human beings. And their agenda usually is to help. Now, Mornay has told me that a real walk-in will not tell you who he is or she is. They will not. So I don't know who these people are that are talking about it. I genuinely don't. And I don't know if they are or they're not. I'm just sharing with you his perspective. That's what he says. The real ones don't tell you. But now that they're here, they can positively affect. And they are now subject to the same experience as we are. Pole shifts, biological warfare, all of that. They are subject to all of that now. They are now participating in the process. Second coming. Does everybody agree that it's okay to talk about this? Everybody raise your hand if you agree. Okay, thank you. Do you guys raise your hand? Yes. Okay. I'm real serious about this. This is a very touchy thing. As I spoke of earlier, I have mixed emotions on this particular subject. You know, there's one part of me that really wants to be responsible for myself, so that when it's my time to cross over, I can stand and say, you know, yes, God, I did it. You know, I take full responsibility for the good and the bad. But there's an element of fear with that because you don't know what's really going to happen. You know, you don't know if God's going to pull out the paddle or if he's going to pat you on the back. I mean, you know, you just wonder. You know, experience is really our gauge. Now, if the Andromedan perspective regarding many of our religious teachings is true, then we're being set up. Now, the Greys have the ability to create a clone. What looks like a human being, but is a robot. Dr. Beater called it a robotoid. Okay? Other people call it other things. My understanding is the only way you will know is if you develop your clairvoyancy, and you can see the energy field around all living things. A clone has no energy field. You will just see a very slight color here, white, on the head, where the microprocessor, organic microprocessor, has been grown inside the body. If they do this, the man who will be brought out of the clouds, probably on a UFO, probably, will look like the image of the man on the Shroud of Turin, which I have been told by Mornay was created by the Greys. By going back in time, grabbing a cloth, and projecting a holographic image through it, which is why this cloth is three-dimensional. Because they projected a holographic imprint through it. Now, a holograph is real, because we're a holograph. I know how out there that sounds. I mean, this is like Ray Bradbury, science fiction, all that stuff. You know, but I mean, let's face it, the regressives are not playing with a full deck here. We already know that. There are a lot of people on our planet right now who are not playing with a full deck, that will do anything to protect themselves, no matter what it is, because they're service to self. Now, I want to tell you that I personally hope that this is not true. I don't want it to be true. But if it is, then I have a responsibility to share it. So I put it out there and let you decide. Okay? You have to decide this one for yourself. This being here is not the Antichrist, who is supposedly another clone that's coming. See, they're going to play this thing out because 2/3 of the world believe it already. You know, well, hell, let's just fulfill it for them. That'll resolve our population problem. They'll kill each other. We'll sit on the moon and just watch all this happen. It's simple if you put yourself in their place. Give them enough rope and they will hang themselves. And we have been fighting about religions forever. I mean, we all agree that we're talking about the same God, but we still play this game. This being here is supposed to come down and start preaching many of the Hindu philosophies. And it will be this soul here, this clone, who is going to ask everybody to surrender their free will. Now, if we can shift the consciousness as quickly as possible to a place of love, they will not be able to pull this off. And if the Lord is real, then hopefully he'll get here a lot quicker. See, folks, I just don't know. I just don't know. This is one of the issues where I'm confused. And the others I'm not. And this one I'm definitely confused. Their history, the Andromedan perspective of the Bible is that it's literature with historical accounts in it. They say that Constantine was so busy burning the resources of the Roman Empire, stopping religious wars, that he decided to create a state religion. And what he did was he took the religions of the West, which worship the sun god Isis, and the religions of the East, which worship the sun Krishna, and put the books together. Krishna, in the Greek, Isos Christos, and created a religion. I don't know. I wasn't there. Mornay said to me once, well, why is it that if your master teacher, that's how they would refer to him, is if your master teacher was crucified and rose on a particular day, why does that day continue to change every year? Why is it on a different date? Why does it always have to be on a Sunday? When the date's always different. And what I did in my research was I found out that Easter always falls on the spring solstice. Now, what's wrong with this picture? Now, the being that's in the New Testament, Jesus, we're told was born on Christmas Day. They say he was born on February 16th, 2 A.D. And that soul is the soul that is in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which have now been taken away from us because they don't want us to know exactly what those books say, even though some of the information has gotten out. Now, why is that? There's a problem somewhere. Okay? And folks, you know, I just want to be sure. I just, you know, like everybody else, I want to know the truth. And I don't know what it is. Like I said to you earlier, if you look at the history of the Catholic Church, who had control of the manuscripts, the original manuscripts, supposedly of the apostles. And you look at their history of deception and lying, and the fact that in 1960 they admitted to 14 plagiarisms in the Bible, I have a problem now. Because one word changes the context of a paragraph. And I don't want to do the wrong thing, so now I have to question everything. I don't question my relationship to God. I am crystal clear about that. But I do question the idea of I'm not responsible enough to take care of myself. I don't want to put my faith in somebody else when it's not supposed to be there. You know, I want to get this thing right, just like everybody else does. I want to live in peace. I want to live in abundance. I want to raise a family, just like everybody else does. And so, you know, I put this information in your care. You do what you want with it. You know, I'm sharing with you what I know and what I don't know. But they plan on doing this. And look for something really bizarre to happen by the year 2000, January 1st of the year 2000, December 31st, 1999, the year January 1st, 2000, when all the world leaders meet at the Pyramid of Giza. Count on something really bizarre happening then. We will probably know and have information from extraterrestrials long before then. We may not meet any of them until then. But the next 5 years, 4 years are critical. They're critical. They are going to be implementing their plan of domination, of free will and self-expression. They're going to. Extraterrestrials, apparently when the Greys got here, they were the front team for the Orion group. Apparently they could not literally pierce our veil, that the shield that we had had around our third density creation. They couldn't pierce it. Apparently it wasn't until 1931. Now I know we weren't detonating nuclear weapons then, so I asked Mornay, well, what happened? And according to Mornay, the Germans, the Nazi scientists, were experimenting with time travel, and they opened a door. They put a crack in time. And with our luck, being as it is or isn't, there were a bunch of regressives just right there. I don't know how they knew, but they were right there. And they came here officially in our linear time, 1931. And then once they were in our reality, they were able to skip back into time. Now, they can only go back to 11,230 BC. That's as far back as they can go. Because to go back any further than that, they run into Atlantis, which was an extraterrestrial colonization as well. That was very advanced. So they don't go back that far. Now, in our history books, we talk about the Sumerians, okay? And with Babylonia, we talk about the gods, okay? They talk about the gods. The pharaohs talk about the gods and their flying shields and all of that, okay? Those are ETs that came in 1931 and went back in time and started manipulating mankind. If I had time travel and I took this water jug back and I presented it to a pharaoh, he would think I was a god because I'd appeared out anywhere. I'd looked differently. I'm dressed differently. If he didn't kill me first, he'd think I was a god, maybe, okay, or an angel or something. And I gave him this, then you could bet that this would be passed down and this would be something very sacred. This plastic would be something sacred to them. Okay? And it would become priceless. You know, this symbol, 7-Eleven, right here, would probably become a religious artifact. You know, there'd be temples built with 7-Eleven on it. I mean, think about it. It's scary, but I mean, it's like, wow. So what they did was, and the Bible even says this, it talks about a rebellion by man of God, okay? But it was really of the gods, of the ETs. Mankind rebelled because they were tyrannized, they were suppressed, they were on the verge of extinction. And because the strongest part of us is survival, they rebelled. So what did they decide to do? Let us divide man and give them a different language. I don't remember the exact quote, but that's what it says. It's in Genesis. Let us divide mankind and give them a different language so they cannot talk to each other. Okay? Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. As far as what happened after that, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but I would suggest all of you, if you've not had the opportunity to read The Gods of Eden by William Bramley, Zachariah Sitchin's books, particularly, they're very, very, very good. The information is out there. I would relook over some of the ancient mythologies, particularly the Sumerian, the Babylonian. It's all there. It's all there. So there's some plan here, and I don't know exactly what it is, but we are definitely a part of it. And we've all agreed on some level to do this. I wish I knew exactly what it was. Okay. The Patal. I don't know a whole lot about the Patal, except for the fact that they say it's us, that we came from 11th density, us and 21 other star systems. Now, apparently our galaxy is in the middle, pretty close to the middle of our entire consciousness universe, which is why we all seem to be lumped together here. We apparently fell into the concept of time, apparently prior to $21 billion years ago. In our linear time, that's 21 billion. Third density, as we know it as a physicality, didn't exist. According to the Andromedans, in their perspective, the Patal created third density. We manifested this portion of it ourselves. We cut it out of the wilderness in order to play this game. Now, I don't know whose idea this was, but next time you can count me out. This is what they say. I have no way of proving this. I wouldn't even know where to begin to look. I guess on a soul level, I'll know someday. Maybe by 2007, when all our DNA starts to crack, we'll know. And if the bad guys are still here, they better watch out. Okay. We apparently started, when the universe was first created, we were at fifth density. We migrated and evolved all the way to the highest level, which means we have the experiences that are accredited to all these dimensions to the 11th. Now, as we're told, everything is connected to each other. We are all connected in some way. Well, if we evolved from here all the way up and then we fell back in time to third density, then everything we do here affects everything, all the way up and all the way back down. But because this is our reality, because this was our idea, our creation, the positives have a hard time knowing exactly how to help us. They don't know exactly how to help us because we set up the rules of free will, of self-expression. And they don't want to come in and make the problem worse, because if they make it worse, it's going to affect them anyway. And then it'll be their fault as well. So this is why so many of the different races are talking to people. The people are channeling these entities, and they're trying to all basically give us the same message. This is your idea. We need you to wake up. We need your help, but we don't know how to help you. We can't interfere unless you ask us, because then we're intervening. And then we are equal to those that are repressing you. It's a tough situation. But I think God's made a decision, and thank God. Because now there's another holograph forming, and it's the 12th. It's a higher frequency than 11th, and it is literally pulling everything up. So I think God, if the Andromedans are right, has made a decision, well, I'm just going to change the game now. You're all coming home. I've let you play long enough. You're stuck. I love you, so I'm going to fix the situation. Which is great, because if he didn't, we only have 40 years worth of oxygen left. So we played it right to the end. We played our game right to the end. We took it as far as we could take it without self-destructing. And we're responsible for that. You know, we're all going to have to stand there together and say, yeah, well, okay. Let's take a break. Let's take a 5-minute break. Hi. I want to share some information with you here now about our ancient heritage. We're going to talk for another 15, 20 minutes, and then I want to get to questions. I'm going to talk to you about Lyra. I'm going to talk to you about what happened in Lyra and how we, the human race, colonized our galaxy. Now, apparently what happened was, based on the age of the suns and the planets and the probable length of stability, it was decided that in our galaxy, the human life form was to be created in the system we know as Lyra. Now, apparently we lived there, the human race lived there for approximately 40 million years, was evolving, living, building. Apparently what happened was that primarily the human race was agricultural in Lyra, in nature. Apparently we were very plentiful, very abundant, and we lived in peace. Then one day, huge craft appeared in the sky. And a large ship came out of one of the large, what we now know as motherships, approached one of the planets. Its name was called Bila, B-I-L-A, Bila, actually, which I guess is a Lyran word. And reptilians got out from Alpha Draconis. Now, apparently the Alpha Draconans and the Lyrans were afraid of each other. However, as I told you yesterday, the Draconans apparently were the very first race in our galaxy to have space travel. And they've had this capability for 4 billion years. Well, apparently when they came and they saw this world with a lot of humans on it, that was agricultural, that had an abundance of food and other natural resources, the Draconans wanted to control it. And my understanding is that there was a miscommunication, a misunderstanding. The Lyrans, in turn, said, well, you want us to help you, I'm paraphrasing this whole long story because I've only got just a few minutes. Apparently, the Lyrans wanted to know more about the Draconians before they offered their assistance, before they offered help. Well, misunderstood the Lyrans' intent to want to know more about who these beings were. And what the Draconians did was they took it as a refusal. And they went back up to their ship and they attacked. In Lyra, there were 14 inhabited planets. When they attacked, the Lyrans were basically defenseless. Now, they did have some space travel that was capable of going between the different planets in the system, but nothing really long-term. They couldn't just, go across the galaxy. So what happened was, when they attacked primarily these 3 planets. And these are the only 3 that the Andromedans have made a real statement about. These 3 planets were completely destroyed. 50 million Lyrans were slaughtered. It is here that the Draconians began to look at us as a food source. This is how old this struggle is between the reptilian races and the human races. Not all human races are, not all reptilian races are dark. And not all human races are dark, but there's a mix. And when we start meeting these races, you're going to have to trust your gut instinct. But they're coming, folks. They're coming. Hail Bob is on its way here. It is not a comet. It is not a comet. Let's see. Okay, I want to talk to you and share with you information regarding the Draconians. And it's best that I just read this to you. It's really the easiest way, and then I'm going to read to you about holographically how we created ourselves in the Andromedan perspective. Now, this is important. I'm choosing the Draconians here specifically because they are really, they're really the force that is suppressing us, or trying to suppress us by instilling fear in belief systems and creating a restrictive hierarchy. The Draconian race is probably the most misunderstood. I have witnessed a deep respect for this race. The Andromedans consider the Draconians the ultimate warriors. Not in a positive sense, but in a negative sense. The Draconians are the oldest reptilian race in our universe. Their forefathers, somewhere in our most ancient past, came to our universe from another separate universe and or reality. When this actually occurred, no one really knows. The Andromedans have said that the Draconians themselves aren't real clear how and when they themselves got here. But what is interesting is that they declare and teach to their masses that they were in this universe first, before human beings, and that they are heirs to this universe, and as such, all of them are royalty. They are disgusted why all the human races don't recognize this claim as truth. But nonetheless, they don't debate the issue with them either. They have colonized many star systems, and they have created many races by genetically altering the life forms that they encountered. The most densely populated area of the subraces of the Draconians is in the constellation of Orion, which is a huge star system that has millions of stars in it, which are suns. which have solar systems around them, and Rigel, and also the star system known as Capella. Here lies a very dangerous part of the universe for human beings. The mindset or consciousness of the majority of these races in this region is service to self, and as such, they are always subverting and invading and manipulating less advanced races and using their technology for control and domination. This is a very old and ancient war, and the peace that does not exist is always being tested by these beings that believe that fear rules and love is weak. Very basic fundamental difference. That the less fortunate are meant to be slaves, and this belief system is created at birth in the reptilian races, as the mother at the time of birth will hide the young and then abandon them to fend for themselves. And most of the time they are cared for, if they survive, by the warrior class that uses these children for games of combat and amusement. So as you can see, by what the Andromedans have said, at a very young age, they are taught to be warriors. They are forever in survival, which means they have no boundaries. They believe that there are ways that if the young one survives, they were meant to. But in the process, they have to fight all the way at a young age till they are full warriors, and that they are used to depending on no one. They are very suspicious of all life forms, including their own, but not, of course, to the extent that they would be of humans, because it's ingrained in them never to trust a human. They are taught the draconian history of the Great Galactic War. That version or opinion was that humans were at fault for the invasion of the universe and how we selfishly wanted the draconian race to starve and struggle for the basic materials for their society to exist. Therefore, they are brainwashed at a young age, just like we humans have done to our younger generations, etc., etc. Now, there are some real similarities there. Draconian thought, that's actually an expression here in our world. I would suggest you guys research that. Now I'd like to read you something that Visayas shared with me. I will make this short. And this is about intention. The smallest piece of physicality, that which all of you and we build upon, is what your science calls the atom. You are taught that each single piece of physicality contains electrons, protons, and neutrons. And then they are supposed to attach themselves together like a bride and groom in various ways to create what you call nature. Molecules manifest this union and marriage to create you, me, and even your elephants. We would like at this time to expose a flaw in the network thinking of your Terran sciences. So let us start with what you know as the atom. Your experts tell you that atoms are dancing and spinning unpredictably. Yes, that's the right word. Where is the predictable solidity of matter? Where do the elements that communion together come from? Your scientists cannot really answer this. They have only theory. Terran scientists presuppose that all physical matter comes or has its original source in matter. This is the flaw that we want to share with you. The true origin of all elements of physical matter is intent. The intent of the isness that makes all things possible. The physical reality that you know has an invisible side or world that your Terran sciences are only now begrudgingly looking at for answers. We are pleased to share with you the idea that intent is the primal force of creation. You may use desire if you would like. It is the isness whose intent and desire to explore and expand itself in all possible openness that create all physical matter on all dimensions. and has made it possible for us as well to explore ourselves to completion. Therefore, know this. The first material in creation is the electron. The electron is the first tool in which to build upon your reality in the physical. Now let's look at you, the Terran. Look at yourself in the mirror. Your physicality is composed of atoms, which form into molecules, which then become cells. You that hear these words are yourself a symphony of electrons, atoms, molecules, and cells of intent. All of you are an unimaginable, complex being of intents or desires. Many of you walk around asking for a miracle, and you are already that which you ask for. From beginning to end, physical matter is a network of intent and desire. The isness then spins consciousness into the matter, and what you have is life. Physical third density life. From the smallest organisms to you, the zenith of your creation, with your modest and reasoning mind. What you see and experience is only the smallest part of you, the tip of the iceberg, maybe one would say, the outer expression of an inner event. The pattern for your human form is then really created in spirit, and your body is composed of an unbelievable number of intents, each intent having a particular function, and each specifically directed towards the creation and sustenance of a particular portion of your humanness. For all of your Terran science theories about life and the nature of physicality, explain how it might be that a single-celled organism can split and divide and divide and divide, with each division becoming more and more specialized. In the division, one cell that divides creates a clone of itself. How then does your science explain how one division becomes a kidney cell and the other a brain cell? If they are clones of the parent cell, which is neither a brain or a kidney, how does this specialization, where does this specialization come from? Oops, we exposed the flaw. It is not hormonal regulators. Why? Simply because you don't know where the hormones come from. Your science can catalog and dissect and shatter as much as it wills. As long as it restricts itself only to physical matter, and that the world that you perceive is just physical, your sciences will only have questions and no answers. Fun, isn't it? It goes on, and we will make a copy of that. I just wanted to share some of it. We have basically a half hour left, and I wanted to dedicate it specifically to questions. Okay? So, give me your best shot. Do we need the microphone? Of course we do.
Is there some technique that you can give us for self-improvement?
Yes. I was given a meditation or an exercise, for those of you who are sensitive to that word, and it's a long story how I eventually got it out of Mornay. But basically, I was having a lot of trouble seeing my own inner light and really understanding who I was and how I was connected to everything. Now, Mornay shared this with me, and I use this quite a bit, and it is really starting to work for me. And they understand that our perspective is that we're really stuck on what's on the outside. So the exercise that he gave me was to just get yourself in a very comfortable state, whether you're lying on the bed, on the floor, sitting in a chair, at a bar stool, I mean, whatever you're doing. Okay. Some people can meditate in a bar, you know. And the exercise was to go down within myself and literally from the balls of my feet, turn myself inside out so that everything that's on the inside is now on the outside. And everything that's on the outside is now on the inside. And all I will share with you is this. You may have to do it, but when you start to see yourself upside down, you're on the right track. Keep doing it until you get yourself upside down. Then you know you're doing it right. Because nothing appears to be what it really is. That's the illusion. In fact, you folks are looking at me. In reality, your eyesight, your eyes are seeing me upside down. It is your brain that turns me around. So which is right? If you go outside and you look at the sun right now, and you look at the location of the sun is not right there. That light takes 9 minutes to reach us. The sun has already moved. So it's not exactly where we see it. It's already moved to another location. I mean, just little things like that, we're supposed to be aware of. That one's helped me the most. The other is quiet time. I mean, just make quiet time for yourself, even if it's just 15 minutes a day. No noise, no distractions. We're blessed because we live 20 minutes from National Forest. And I have no problem escaping to the forest. Here in Texas, I don't know what you folks do, but find some quiet time, at least 15 minutes a day. It's really, really important. And for you men, it's really, really important that you listen to your bodies. The women already know how to do that. That's why they have the gift of giving birth, because they listen to their bodies. Another question, ma'am.
John, thank you. Do positive walk-ins come in at death, or do they share?
Do they share? I mean, are there two personalities in one
Yes,
body?
are there two?
I don't understand. I don't believe that occurs. My understanding is that one leaves, another comes in. Otherwise, you might have a real serious split personality.
For sure. Excuse me. Earlier you said something about the overpopulation of the earth. I think, did you have a chance to look that up, Pat? Maybe this be a homework assignment for all of us. I heard on the radio several months ago, I was driving and didn't have time to catch the whole program, but the guy said that you could put every person on the earth in Texas with 2.5 acres. So I guess you just have to go look up how many acres in Texas and divide it out by 2.5 and see. But it gives you an idea of how the government is lying to us.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's any surprise. But thank you very much for sharing that. Ma'am, I just wanted to add about what you asked about walk-in sharing the body. According to Theseus, those beings who have been classified with multiple personalities, what it is, apparently, is there is an imbalance in the hemispheres of the brain, the electromagnetic frequencies in the brain, and what is happening is the split personalities are actually past life memories that are bleeding through. That's what they say. That it's past life bleed through. And they move in and out of these different realities because the mind is a hologram. It records everything, and everything is still there. We just tap into it in very different ways. And that's what they say. Yes, ma'am.
There's a group called Abraham. There's a group called Abraham, and they said there are non-physical entities that have come to the United States or have come here at this time to help us. Are you familiar with them?
No, I am not. Sorry. But I'll try to find out for you. Abraham. Okay. I'll find out.
I wanted to ask if you could talk more about the whales and dolphin connection with ETs.
Well, like I said earlier, the whales and the dolphins apparently have come from Cirrus A. They were brought here specifically. They've been here a very, very long time. They are very evolved. God, you know, but there just isn't time to really go into it because then there'd be no more questions. But we can talk about that at a later date on the phone. Okay? Next question, please.
I have another question about a walk-in. Drumelo Melchizedek does the Flower of Life seminar, and he claims to be a walk-in from the 18th dimension. I'm wondering where the 18th dimension is, since you haven't mentioned it, and what can you tell us about him?
I do not know the man personally. I've only heard rumors to that effect. And my understanding is that there is no 18th dimension, that the highest is 12, and that's just now being formed. So I have no clue where he's from. Again, I would say you trust your gut instinct. You know, I'm not familiar with this information. The information I do have is firsthand of experiences other people have had, but you would really need to talk to them about it because it's their experience, and, you know, I wouldn't want to propagate a rumor that isn't true. So I can point you in that direction, though, after the lecture. Okay. Anybody else? What?
I had a question. If we're going to be going from third through fourth and into fifth dimension, which is a different reality as I understand, then what does it matter with the government trying to manipulate everything? How is that going to affect us, or will it?
The whole point of the manipulation is to try to hold us back.
To prevent us from going into that dimension.
Or as many as possible. Now, when we talked about the creation of our universe, okay, and the weight that negativity creates, okay, all of those who are not going to be moving into fifth density are going to do what? They are going to create another space of consciousness, which we call a universe. And they will continue to play out this game until they get it right.
Okay. I had a second question. The council has ordered all ETs off the planet and to stop influence us by 2003.
Correct.
What then and how will Hale-Bopp affect that when it arrives here? Because suppose it's carrying ET that's going to be doing that very same thing. That would be in violation of that council's order, right?
That's correct. So your answer is, how are they going to do this?
Right.
I have no clue. I have no clue how they're going to do it. That is not something that they've told me how they're going to do. I don't even know if they know for sure how they're going to do it yet. I'm just sharing with you what they've told me, that they are going to make sure, and if possible by force, remove everything that's ET off our planet.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry.
If, in listening to all this, if the only way that, if the only way that we're going to be able to fight this technology is by using our own original organic powers from the 11th density, then, and of course, not focusing on all this technology would be a benefit then, because then we could focus on who and what we were to start with. Is there a way that the Andromedans and anyone else could help us get better focused on that, or understand possibly the process of the resurrection, if that indeed occurred, and if we can start that process now?
That's a real simple question. Oh, I'll ask. I will ask, and I will pass the information on to Pat. As far as the resurrection, the biblical resurrection, if it really happened, don't know. But I will share with you this, and I know Pat has had his own experiences, but I will share this with you that I heard a few days ago on CNN about a baby that was born, lived for just a few hours, and crossed over. Well, the hospital people gave the mother the child to allow her to grieve. Now, the child had been dead 3 hours and 15 minutes. This was on CNN. And suddenly the child just gasped for air. They took the child away from the mother, put it into a facility, and the child is doing fine. So that child was resurrected.
So then we could do this with our planet as well.
That's exactly right. And love is the answer. It's the highest vibration. That's what holds the galaxy together. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Do the Andromedans acknowledge or interact with the spiritual hierarchy of this planet, and also about the angels and archangels?
As far as the spiritual entities, yes, because they're dimensional. And they are physical. Now, to us, they're spiritual entities, but to them, they're physicality. Now, as far as the angels and archangels, another touchy subject. In their perspective, we're all angels. When I mentioned archangels, the first time I mentioned archangels, like Michael and Sector, they didn't know what I was talking about. They had to go review our history to find out who they were. So they still don't know who they are. But, their response was, well, you are all angels. It is your perception of yourself that tells you you're not. Next question. Anybody? Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
I have two questions primarily. One, through my studies, I've learned discussions of the pineal, or the third eye, as being a glandular appendage in humans for focusing the intent. What can you tell me about that? And secondly, also, that melanin being a biochemical substance that activates the pineal. What can you tell me about that?
Okay.
No, melanin. Exactly.
I've asked because, people have used drugs and things like that to have conscious awakenings and mind-expanding drugs. So I've asked about that. And in their perspective, by focusing on that, we are focusing on our physicality as being the way to open us up spiritually. And what their opinion is, their perspective is that we're looking in the wrong place. We're already awakened. We're stuck on the physical. In other words, unless our intent is to focus and open up the pineal and start to see things, then we believe that we're now spiritually awakened and we're on the right path. Their opinion is that stuff is already, all those experiences are already in us. We've already done it. And that we should not focus on the physical as being the tool, but focus on the self, which is the tool. In other words, find your light that's inside of you, and you won't need to deal with the pineal. It's a distraction. That's their opinion. There's at least two schools of thought on that. I know. And, I can't see future events, so I don't know. I'm like the rest I'm just, like you, I'm trying to figure out what it is. Their whole focus is to not focus on the physical, but focus on who you really are. We just have the physical forms to allow us to participate in this dimensional realm. That's the only reason we have this vehicle. But it's not who we are.
Judge which physical form we partake of in this physicality.
They're a tough bunch. They're a tough bunch.
What force judges what physicality we partake of in order to take part in this?
I understand it's our own selves. So again, it comes back to self-responsibility. You created this. You can uncreate it. We have a question from the cameraman. Yes. I'm sorry. I didn't see anybody else with their hand up.
I was at this place when I was a kid. There's a lab, and it's underneath the ground in New Mexico, but it's not Los Alamos. And in the late 60s and early 70s, they were studying moon rocks and charting the ocean bottom. And then all of a sudden, this group of scientists was disbanded. I have friends that have been looking for property in that area. There's whole groups of property in New Mexico, even though it's available, you can't purchase it. And I think it's in this area, and you mentioned it on a tape. Do you know anything about it?
Well, it's quite a state. You're talking about Dulce, you're talking about Manzano Mountains, Las Lunas. There's all kinds of areas. Okay. I was in New Mexico over the harmonic convergence in August of '87. And I was in Angel's Fire, and I have a friend who lives on the national forest there. And I loved New Mexico. That's the last time I've been there. And I know that it's honeycombed like a beehive everywhere underneath it. Mornay has suggested that I not go to New Mexico, and I don't. When I asked why, he said because all free will is monitored there. So, that's all I know. Where this particular place is, it could be almost anywhere there. I know there are huge underground facilities and trains and things of that nature underneath it. But that's all I know. But I love New Mexico. I have a lot of friends there that I would love to go and visit. But I've been asked not to go, and I'm going to honor that. I'm definitely going to honor that. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't see you, Richard.
I'm trying to frame my questions. I'm not looking for a lot of response to my questions. Just I want to bottom line and some things for myself. I thought it was quite interesting. One of the papers you read there, from what I heard, was just bringing up the notion. Well, it was bringing up an opportunity for us to question our conviction of the notion of reality and matter. You begin to read, and he was pointing out how we, in our natural sciences, understand the atom and so on and so forth, and the cells, and he was pointing out the inconsistencies in that. And what I heard in there was he was giving us an opportunity to see the fallacy in our belief system connected to matter. And was I getting that as it was being attempted to be put across?
That's exactly correct.
Okay. So what I see he was doing was just inviting us to take a look at our conviction to reality and matter. He was questioning reality and matter.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
I'll go back to what I said last night. That Mornay had addressed to me. It is not so important what you believe in as to why you believe it. And what's happened is we have gotten so stuck in dictating our truth or our reality based on experience instead of creation of it, creation of our experiences. And what's happened is that when we get stuck in just the idea of experiencing things, we get stuck in the idea that I feel alive because of having these experiences. Like many people are stuck in survival. Now, you can get addicted to survival because you feel alive. Okay, you take it always to the edge, and you get stuck there. You always got to bring it to the edge. And what happens is we get stuck, and we start going around and around and around and around, like a hamster on a wheel. And all we are now doing is we are experiencing survival. Okay? And we get stuck in that concept. And if we're stuck in that concept, this is all we create, is survival, survival, survival. Instead of creating something else. And I mean, there's so many in the world like that. Even our governments, that's their consciousness. Survival, survival, survival. Well, define survival. You know.
Okay, again, I just want to bottom line a few more things. What I also heard from...
Let's hurry up because other people want to
Okay, from your speaking is that what we perceive is that we live in a reality of cause and effect, and what in fact the truth is this is a reality of effect, and the reality of cause is outside of this. In fact, a truer reality than this one is.
You're correct.
Okay. So the bottom line for all that is there's no life, truth, or intelligence in matter. It's just a belief.
That's right.
So any effort
It reflects back to you the value you put on it.
So all the effort we use to change matter is the greatest hoodwink perpetrated on humanity as we look to alter matter to change our situation. That's just looking outside of ourselves for the source of the truth, the light and the way. We're just going tremendously like a bat out of hell in the wrong direction.
Aho matakli asa.
Thank you.
The other day, you mentioned that some of the ETs have come back from the future to help us right a terrible wrong.
No, I said I have been told that some of us, have come back from the future to right a terrible wrong.
Reincarnated?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that may change my question then. What I was wondering was if it was possible for that to happen, then wouldn't it be possible for the adversaries to do the same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
And couldn't that cause some kind of a time loop to sit here and just be repeated over and over?
Yes, sir, it could.
Okay.
But there's one factor, and that is what occurred on March 23rd of 1994, where the color, light, sound started emanating from the black holes. That's changed all the games. It's brought it all to a focal point.
Okay. Can you give a little bit more detail on Hale-Bopp, who they are and what their purpose is, what they want?
I don't know that. All I know is that Morane has told me that it is a protocol ship from Orion. And they know a protocol is, as I understand it, a team that comes in the front and prepares the way for the ruler or the king or the queen or whatever, okay, prepares the way. That's exactly what they're doing, okay? Means it's going to get ugly. Isn't it nice to know you're so important, that half the galaxy is going to come here and try to suppress you? Poor little old us, Imagine how much fear they're in. Oh, my God.
Are you familiar with the term Brotherhood of All?
No, I'm not.
It's sort of supposed to be like, Mary, what was the Brotherhood of All in that other tape?
Norma Milanovic. Did you ever hear of her?
I've never heard of her.
She's in Colorado. Okay, Norma Milanovic speaks of that she had telepathic communication from Dwal-Kul, Kuthumi, and some ETs, and she talks about
Do we have a question?
some of the crop circles.
Do we have a question in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Does anybody want to ask a question?
Yes, I have a question. I got a quick one. What can you tell us about the photon belt, please?
I don't know anything about the photon belt. The Andromedans have never mentioned it.
Did you include in the packet the alien bases here, the locations of them for us?
No, I have not. They're on a huge map of the United States. I will get that to Pat.
Thank you.
On that map are both the good and the bad and the indifferent. Okay. I'm sorry? I will. We'll take 2 more questions.
How often are you contacted now, and do you initiate any of that?
I try to initiate it. Believe me, I do. I would say that probably on an average right now, maybe 1 to twice a month. Majority of them in the last 8 months have been telepathic at this point. There's a lot of weird things going on out there, folks, and I will tell you this. The Greys, their clones are at full-out war with the Pleiadians right now. There is civil war apparently going on in Sirius B. There are a lot of things going on. The quarantine around our solar system has been broken, and there are skirmishes going on all over the place. So things are heating up. The regressives are reacting big time because their anger, their fear is becoming compressed. In other words, it's getting closer and closer. It's because their density is compressing. They are feeling all of their emotions mirrored back to them, so they are reacting more. We're doing that here on Earth as well. Many people are really starting to get buggy. And it's the energy. It's definitely the energy. It's compressing on itself. And if you are restrictive inside of yourself with the energy, it's going to react. It's going to come out of you. And you're going to lash out because it's an explosion of energy. And the Earth herself is going to be doing this. When we have the real earthquakes, where the whole Earth will shudder. And it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. And this is her way of releasing the negativity that she's been holding on to. She cannot take that low frequency with her into fifth density. So she's going to cut it loose. And it's our own stuff. She's only going to be mirroring back our own stuff. So, again, I just want to say, to wrap this up, please, please don't turn on each other. When the aliens get here, all we're going to have is each other. When they get here and they say, well, the whites, this group says, well, the whites are the ruling race. When another group gets here and says the blacks are the ruling race. When the Chinese are the ruling race. The reality here is they're all full of shit. We are a race of beings living on a planet. We are a race, regardless of the color of our skin. This is the only planet in our galaxy where all these different races live together. Do you know that? This is it. And they've got us warring with each other. We're being duped. Don't turn on each other. We are all that we have as a race. When the Andromedans come down here, they don't look at the United States as a race. They don't look at the blacks as a race, the Chinese as a race, the Japanese as a race. They look at us as a race. They look at a planet, and it doesn't matter the color of their skins or their beliefs. They look at us as one race. And they're right to do so, because the whites kill the whites, the blacks kill the blacks, the Chinese kill the Japanese Japanese kill the Chinese. I mean, it's just, what difference does it make if we're killing each other? Yes, ma'am. It's the last question.
Are you familiar with HAARP, H-A-A-R-P?
Yes, ma'am.
In Alaska? Well,
Yes,
do
ma'am.
you suppose that HAARP, as well as all the weather manipulations been going on around the world, is that controlled by the ETs who are the negative ones, the negative ETs?
Okay. Great question. My answer to that is this. Of what I know, the weather modification is being done from the moon. And how they're doing it is they're crossing particle beam weapons, and they're moving storms, literally creating storms, and then moving onto the coasts of unfavored nations. Okay? This is being done by mankind. And this is being done from the moon. HAARP, the reason for HAARP and the weird things that it's doing are just a byproduct. Their real specific purpose for trying this technology is to create an electromagnetic shield around the Earth so nothing can get in, because they're very concerned about the invasion that's coming.
What does HAARP stand for?
Good question.
An article that came out in Popular Science.
There's a book, actually, there's a book that's out, and it's called Angels Don't Play This Harp. And I've gotten halfway through it, and it'll keep you up nights. I kid you not. We are definitely messing with stuff. Now, the Pleiadians told Billy Meyer that somewhere around 2008, there was a possibility that the United States government would do something that would ignite our ionosphere into fire. And this sucker, what they're doing is putting billions of watts of electricity into our ionosphere.
It sets the radiation belt fire. What's it called? Van Allen belt fire. We've been told about that.
I don't know anything about that. So, and that's actually in Randy Winter's book. He also mentions that that the Peace talk about that. You know, and this technology would certainly do it. You know, but it's to create an electromagnetic shield around the planet because they're worried. You know, they got, you know, the people that are in the military, and I mean, you know, I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for those beings that are in the NSA that maybe got themselves involved in this way back in the 50s. They have totally put themselves square in the middle, and no matter what happens, they're in big trouble. Because when the people find out, the only safe place they're going to have is the moon. Okay? I kid you not. When we find out, when it all comes out, what they've done to us, that's the only safe place they're going to have. But once they go to the moon, they're going to have to hang out with their regressive brothers and sisters, you know, who will eat them for lunch. So, I mean, they're in trouble either way. You know, but they did it themselves. They did it themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure for me. I want to thank Pat and Nancy and his family for having my wife and I here. And I want to thank all of you for spending more time. You've been gracious. You're awesome. And don't ever forget that. No matter what your friends say, you're awesome. Thank you very much.